from the first day I put my feet on that land, it was the feeling that this place was a place of abundance. And for me, it is the very feeling of the mother. I didn't know the mother directly. She was born in 73, I was born in 60. I could have met her, but it didn't happen. I met her through my mother, who talked about it, who wanted to come here, but she never did it, so I had Auroville in the corner of my brain. But I tell you that even if I had never met her, I can feel her, because a mother is exactly that. A mother gives. So mothers are still giving a taste of abundance to babies. And our mother, the mother who created Auroville, is still living here, I tell you, through the abundance of nature. We always see Mother Nature, so for me she's the same. And when you experience that, it's just flip it all around, and then you discover that you can build your life on abundance and not on scarcity. And that's completely another feeling. And you can do new things that you couldn't do before.
I'm ready whenever you are ready.
So maybe a bit of my story. I'm now 58 years old.
A bit loud, please.
I'm now 58 years old. I came in Auroville when I was 50 in 2010. After having worked for 25 years in Europe, in France mainly, in the field of mobility. I'm a mobility man. I'm the guy, one of the guys who developed in the 80s, 90s, beginning of 2000 something, the GPS, travel informations and things like that. And I was very passionate with my work. I'm a civil engineer and with a specialization in town planning and mobility. But after the 2008 financial crisis, I realized that the world was really turning mad, that we were all rushing for something which had no future, in fact. So, and that I personally was working for accommodating more cars in the cities to make travel more smooth and comfortable, and help people to live their crazy life, in fact. And that was not what I wanted. So I decided to stop everything when I was 50. And I stopped my work and I came to Auroville. I had few very difficult years between 2008, 9, 10, because my experience was like if all my landscape, all the references I had, and that were the same as everybody has in general. You get a job, you buy a house, you pay your loan, you pay your taxes, you raise your children, they go to school, they have to graduate, and all these things. Everything you believe in usually was collapsing around me. It was like fire in a theater house, you know, where all these, I don't know, how do you say in English, the decor, or was burning and collapsing. In fact, if this happened to me, it's because I have to go back a little bit. In the 80s, I remember in the 80s, 85 maybe, I was just finishing my school, I think, just before my first job. I was reading an issue of Paris Match, the French magazine, and there were the title of the article was very proud. They were saying proudly they were saying today, recently, the man discovered or explored the last square meters of the planet, which was still unknown before. And it was a shock for me, you know, because I realized that day I was 25. I kept the magazine in my hand for a few minutes like this. I was shocked, and I realized suddenly that we couldn't continue to grab, to exploit, to destroy, to use things around us. That from that moment we will be obliged to manage what we have, because we won't have more than that. We had gone around the planet and it was finished. There is no second planet. So I was 25, and this was still in my mind. And in fact, all I did after that, till 2012, till 2010, was linked to that discovery. Because even when I was working for mobility in France, I was always trying to manage better what we had. I'm not somebody who created new roads, for instance. I'm somebody who tried to use in a better way the roads we had. But in 2010 it was not sufficient. I realized that working for cities, for cars, for even trains was not sufficient for me. It was not fitting with my values, in fact, and my understanding of what was going on in the world. And this, what triggered me is the 2008 crisis, because I realized that people around me, I was at the top of a company, earning my life very comfortably and passionate with my work. Everything was fine, you know, but I couldn't continue with that, because I knew that this way has no future. This way goes to the wall, directly, boom. And that at that moment I started to read more about collapsology and things like that, and I became, in fact, in Auroville I became a collapsology teacher in last school. And I realized at that moment also that I had in my pockets, it was not lost, it was a bit an ancient experience, but it was not lost. I had in my pocket some skills, some knowledge about nature, about plants, making gardens, raising animals and things like that. By chance I was raised in the countryside, and I spent 10 years in a place where I had a huge garden with an orchard. When I was 10, I received as a gift a one day old duck. it was tiny like that. I raised my duck in my hand. I remember. She because she became a she duck. She was sleeping with me in my bed, I remember. And that was when I was 10. When I reached 15, I had 150 birds in my garden. I had built a shed for them, and it was fun. I loved it. Raising birds, chickens, turkey, ducks, everything. Everything I had. And I loved it. I was taking care of the orchard also. I had a kitchen garden with my mum. It was fun also. And my mum was very connected to all the new things which were happening at that moment in the 70s around permaculture, organic farming and things like that, compost and all these things. So I was in that, you know, in that network. And when I came in Auroville, it took me maybe 1 year to realize that I was no longer a civil engineer. I was no longer somebody who was worried about mobility and cars and trains and things like that, but that I was fundamentally somebody who had to live on the land, to grow things, to raise animals. And it happened something very funny. I was working with Bernard from Pebble Garden, just next door, a fantastic guy. Bernard and Deepika, they manage a Pebble Garden, which is a nice place. It's a seed garden, and they manage a seed bank. And both of them are masters in gardening and seed saving. I advise you to visit them. I was working with Bernard for a few months, and then the cyclone came end of 2011. And in February 2012, I was working with him, cutting trees, trying to clean the forest, which was completely destroyed by the cyclone. And one day he told me, "Hey, Christian, we have worked enough for today. I'm tired. Let's go and greet Gérard." I said, "Who is Gérard?" And what? You don't know Gérard from Auroorchard? No. What is Auroorchard? I didn't even know. I was passing by in front of the signboard. I didn't even notice. So he brought me with him, and we visited in February 2012. We visited the place, and I met Gérard and Bitty, and I fell in love with the place, and I fell in love with the persons, with Gérard, with Bitty. It was I tell you, it took me a few seconds. I'm moved by that. It took me only a few seconds to know that that was the place. So it's a good souvenir. And yes, we came with Gérard. Gérard took maybe half an hour to make a short tour around the farm, and I remember that we came together just over there in front of us at the entrance of this wonderful mango orchard. There is 250 mango trees there. We were standing there just at the entrance where the gate is there. And he told me, "Look, Christian, this is a nice, wonderful place. It's a mango orchard." And I couldn't see anything, you know, because we were just after the cyclone, and all the trees were broken everywhere. I couldn't even see the road there. So I must have had faith at that time, because it was, bow, like after the war, you know. So that's how it started. I came first 1 morning a week, then 2 mornings a week, then 3, then 4, and in October, in fact, I was full-time here. And October is 2012 is an important date, because at that moment one thing I didn't mention is that this farm was not organic for historical reasons which are interesting to know. But this farm was a conventional farm. It was the only conventional farm of Auroville, in fact. And in October 2012, I was just observing a field in the block 6 over there, a cucumber field, and they had put so much potash in the field that the soil was blooming with algae. The soil was green and slimy, you know. It was just disgusting, you know. And in fact, for cucumbers, because cucumbers were the dominant crop here for more than 40 years, Gérard was obliged to put a lot of fertilizers, a lot of fungicides, a lot of pesticides. And it was and that day, I was so angry that I ran to the office and I told Gérard, if you want me to continue with you, if you want me to help you at the farm, we stop that bullshit and we go for organic. And he was so happy. He told me, yes, I was waiting for that for years, but I couldn't do that myself. I'm too old. At that moment, you must realize he was already 81. He was trying to transmit the farm to somebody else for more than 10 years. And he told me, yes, I couldn't do it myself. I'm done, I'm finished. I couldn't develop again the farm on a new basis, but you can do it and I will be behind you. So that's how it started. October 2012, organic conversion of the farm, which is reaching the last stage now, because this huge place, Mango Orchard, is being converted to organic for 1 year now. So we are finishing the process. Yeah. It's interesting to tell the story of this farm, because it's a bit strange to have had for such a long time a non-organic farm in Auroville, where all farms are supposed to be organic. But you must realize that this farm was the first one, the first one and the only one which was planned by mother since the origin of Auroville. This land was bought in '64 to a Swami, and it includes a temple land, a Ganesh temple land. And this Swami, that's also a funny story, this Swami accepted to sell the land to mother because it was for Auroville. He knew the project and he appreciated it. And he also told mother, I sell you my land, but I put 2 conditions. One is that you keep the temple, the Ganesh temple, inside your land and you protect it. And the second condition, which is really funny, is that you give the puja every day to Ganesh. And since '64, Auroville gives the puja in the Ganesh temple, which is part of the farm, in fact, at the corner there. So the land has been bought in '64, and Gérard was already there at the ashram for years. He came in the ashram in '55. He was 24 years old, and he had spent already 15 years with mother, more or less, and he wanted to. He was taking care of orchards in the Himalayas for the ashram, and he wanted to come back more close to the mother. And at that moment, mother had this land, and she wanted to create Auroville, and she was a very pragmatic person. People think that the spirituality of mother is sometimes people think that it's somewhere in the sky, floating in a spiritual world, we don't know where. No, that's absolutely not true. Mother was deeply rooted into the land, the soil, the reality, the materiality. And she perfectly knew that if she wanted to create a new society, a new experiment, human experiment, she would have to feed people. That's so simple, you know. And one of the first things she planned for Auroville is a farm. And this was a farm which was planned to feed Auroville. And she proposed to Gérard to be the first farmer of Auroville, and he accepted. But at that moment she said, Gerard, you will have to feed the community, which was quite a heavy responsibility for him. He was 37 years old, he was not really a professional farmer. In 68, the story I tell you is happened in the 68, and he didn't trust him to manage to feed the community organically. At that moment in 68, of course, permaculture was not there. Of course, organic farming was known, but it was not so popular. And what was popular is chemical farming. At that moment, the green revolution was roaring everywhere. And he said to mother, I don't trust me, I will start conventionally. And what is amazing is to see that in 68, mother said to him, and she came to him thrice. Gerard told me the story. She came back thrice, she insisted. She said something like that, you know, Gerard, Auroville is a place where people must practice a yoga. They must transform themselves. They must follow a spiritual path. And I think that we are what we eat, what we absorb. Be it the music we hear, be it the food we eat, be it the friends we meet. And I'm anxious because if you produce a food with chemicals, and people eat that food, I'm not sure that it will help us on the way I proposed to them. She was very clear on that. She's a visionary person, it's incredible. She knew a lot of things in advance, you know. But Gerard kept his stand and he started the farm conventionally. That's how it started. Then mother was gone and the farm started like this, and he never had the opportunity or the guts to take another direction. I wanted to tell you that story because I'm always impressed when I realize to which extent mother had seen things in advance. There is a very impressive text from her also, which I think was written in 53, 54, something like that. And she described, she's talking about the fact that finance is more and more important in the world. In the 50s, I can see, and she says something, she has a very strong statement. She says something, if you let the finance people take the lead on the planet, you will see they will make of the planet, they will make of the earth, they will make a dead moon. That's a strong expression. Huh? They will transform the earth into a dead moon. And you know, that resonates in me also. I'm absolutely sure that finance and money, as it's designed now in our society, transform everything into sterile environment. It sterilizes people, it sterilizes land, it sterilizes everything. It transforms everything into dead things. It transforms, in fact, living beings into things, commodities. Even people are becoming commodities now. Maybe I mentioned that because it's the socio-economics are as important for me as farming, pure farming. I'm not somebody who grows vegetables just to grow vegetables. I grow vegetables because it puts you in relationship with nature, the soil, climate, trees, living entities on one side, and because also it puts you into relationship with societies, human beings, with money, because people must have the money to buy your vegetables. If they can't buy, you're dead. That's simple. Or you can also try something else, and we are trying something else in Auroorchard, and I'm really passionate about it now, which is, can they have the food without buying it, without having money? And that's the most interesting thing, in fact. Because a farm is at the base of everything. Drinking and eating are the first needs, the first basic needs we have. Vital needs. That's so important. You know, the pyramid of our accomplishments must be built from the base, and the base is eating, drinking, and also peeing and pooing, but that I will talk about it later. That's also important, because there is a strong connection with farming. So, but back to the socio-economics. Maybe I can develop that point rapidly. The first thing you must realize is that there is no other place in the world, on the planet at least, where value is created. There is no other place than, I don't know how do you say that in English, than on the leaves of trees, because these leaves are the places where photosynthesis occurs. And photosynthesis is the base of prosperity on Earth. There is no other true prosperity on Earth than the leaf of trees and plants in general. Photosynthesis. That's the place where things are created. A bit of water, the thin air flowing everywhere, the sun, a plant grows, and it grows, it creates something. It's given, you know, it's given by nature. It's given by nature, and where you had nothing, when you had just void or disorder, suddenly you have a plant which carrying a lot of information, you know. It has a shape, it knows something about himself and the world. So it's a negantropic phenomenon. It creates something. Being a farmer is a privilege, you know. It's being at the only place on Earth where the true riches are created. It creates a cake, and then you can share the cake. If you don't have a cake, you cannot share it. And that's exactly how our world is built for the moment. We are destroying the cake. The cake on which we are living is what nature gives to us. But as we destroy it, the cake is shrinking. I think it's a good way to think about ourselves on the planet. You know, living is about a lot of things. Because it's also about love. But for what regards sustaining our bodies, it's about eating cakes. So, where's the cake, fundamentally? The cake is given by nature. We cannot create a cake. I know that some people are dreaming of artificial meat, artificial things, and this and that. Yeah, I don't believe in that, sorry. Maybe it will happen, but I hope I will be dead at that moment. I'm talking about, let's say, a traditional ancient vision where man is part of nature, and nature is giving the cake. I explained that thanks to the photosynthesis, by growing plants, nature creates a cake. On the planet, plants came first, and they created the soil. They were created first in the sea, cyanobacteria. They didn't need soil. And then, because they were there, the soil was created. And plant and soil, they can work together without us. They know how to create their own cake. Then animal came. Then human being came. But it's a second story. I will develop that maybe once about how fertility is created on Earth. But so we animals, we are living on a cake, and this cake is mainly a vegetal cake. It's the capacity of nature to grow plants. And in fact, what happens right now in the world, the dominant mode, the dominant paradigm is the paradigm of scarcity. We are destroying the capacity of nature to produce the cake. So the cake is shrinking, and we are now in front of a small cake. For a hunter-gatherer 10,000 years ago, you know, he had the full world to explore, to pick fruits, and now we are living on half an acre per human being. It's a small piece of land, you know, 2,000 square meters. It shrank so much, you know. So of course it's difficult to share a small cake being a lot. So we created scarcity as a principle of sharing. So which means that everything becomes scarce. The cake is scarce, but the money to buy the cake is scarce. For a man, the women are scarce. For the women, the men are scarce. The jobs are rare, and everything becomes difficult. We are dominated by scarcity, by fear, and we take decisions inspired by these feelings of scarcity, inspired by the feeling of fear of missing something. But we never take any good decision by fear. It just increases the process of diving more and more into the scarcity. And when I came here, what was absolutely evident from the first day I put my feet on that land, it was the feeling that this place was a place of abundance. And for me, it is the very feeling of the mother. I didn't know the mother directly. She was born in 73, I was born in 60. I could have met her, but it didn't happen. I met her through my mother, who talked about it, who wanted to come here, but she never did it. So I had Auroville in the corner of my brain. But I tell you that even if I had never met her, I can feel her, because a mother is exactly that. A mother gives. So mothers are still giving a taste of abundance to babies. And our mother, the mother who created Auroville, is still living here, I tell you, through the abundance of nature. We always see Mother Nature, so for me she's the same. And when you experience that, it's just flip it all around, and then you discover that you can build your life on abundance and not on scarcity. And that's completely another feeling. And you can do new things that you couldn't do before, because the cake is growing, and rapidly it becomes bigger than what you need for yourself. So you can share and you can give. So this place, Auroorchard Farm, is a place where, of course, it's a farm, it's about farming, but it's not only about farming, it's about recreating abundance, reconnecting to abundance, sharing. And this sharing occurs at many levels. The first sharing, the first gift we receive, of course, is the gift of nature through photosynthesis, plant growing and giving, the soil thriving. The second gift we receive is from volunteers. People who come to the farm and who give their time, give their enthusiasm, they give their curiosity. Even the Wednesday farm tour is a kind of giving. Giving against giving. People give their curiosity, they give their time. That's fantastic. And I give my time, I give my knowledge, I share it. There is no money involved. and it nourishes you, I tell you. It seems that it nourishes them because they are thankful. Some of them, it happened that group applauded, clapped their hands at the end. And I also is moved by when I see people realizing things during the tour. And you have these volunteers who come sometimes 6 months in a row, every day, giving their time. That's fantastic. So we give the farm produce to them also. They give their time. This time is acknowledged into our system, and this time opens a right for them to take the farm produce they want in the farm through the basket system. So yes, we try to, now that the fundamentals are more or less settled, we try to push the wall a little bit and to go into the socio-economics and to extend the area extend the sharing to the food produce, the time, I'm observing the cows, they are funny. To extend the abundance outside the farm. So for me the farm is a place, of course, where we connect to nature, where we work with plants, with soil, with animals, but it's also a place where we interact with the society, we interact with customers, or words have to be redefined. They become less and less customers and more partners, or I don't know what, but yeah. I'm very passionate about that. I think the farms are the places where the world can be regenerated. There is not so many places where the world can be regenerated. I think probably another place where cake can be created and shared is the heart. Because we need material food, but we also need love. And thanks God, this still exists. This resists against the system. So people who welcome children, who give their time for people, who heal. Yeah, these people are also creating a very important cake. This one is very fun. She's called Shama. The Shama is the one which is most tame,
More friendly?
friendly. This one is curious, but he's a bit shy.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes, but what do you want me to talk about?
Tell me the story about this lemon tree. Was it there when you came here before?
Oh yes, it was there, but this place is what we call the lemon orchard. This is a lemon tree, and I just get that one falling down. And yes, but we will go to the main place, the lemon orchard, in a minute. This place was there, but it was completely damaged. It was a bush, in fact, a dry bush. When I discovered the place, I think it was the end of 2012. I didn't even try to get into the place for a few months. It was completely messy, bushy, thorny, and the irrigation system was dead for a while, so the trees were not so happy. The trees had been shaken by the cyclone. This one is in fact lying down on the ground, and you can see the main trunk is on the ground. Cyclone, when I say the cyclone, is Cahnnel in end of 2011. And this cyclone destroyed a lot of trees, including in this area. So it was shaken by the cyclone, neglected for years, not irrigated. So it was nothing. It was, and for a while I didn't know what to do with it. And at that time, beginning of 2013, I think, yes, a friend, Sylvain, a French guy. It's amazing because his name is Sylvain Poirier. Sylvain means the man of the forest, and Poirier is a pear tree. So he is really made for taking care of trees. Anyway, he had studied trees and horticulture. So he came to help in 2013, and together we started to reclaim the land. And he has done a fantastic job of cleaning the bushes, cleaning the thorny plant, removing everything. And then we were wondering how to help this place, this neglected place, to regain fertility, to restart and become productive. And I took some advices, and mainly, in fact, from my friend Bernard from Pebble Garden. And finally, together, we decided to do more or less the opposite of what was advised to us by almost everybody, which was to plow the soil, because it was hard and it was looking like a stone, you know, it was like a brick stone. And to water the trees, and we did in fact more or less the opposite. We didn't do anything to the soil, we didn't plow, we didn't sow, we didn't fertilize, we did nothing, absolutely nothing. We just installed, beginning of 2014 if I remember well, we just installed some micro sprinkler between the trees in the open. Because in the open we had the sun, we had the soil, it was dead but it was there. We had air, because air is flowing everywhere. Just a bit of water was missing. So the recipe of life, remember, is just having a support: soil, sun, air, water. Just water was missing, so we added a bit of water. And the principle is very simple here. When it rains, we don't water. When rain stops, we water. We just compensate, we just maintain a constant level of moisture. And what happened is very simple. As soon as we put a bit of water on this bare and barren land, plants came spontaneously. We didn't have to sow anything. They were there, the seeds were there, ready to germinate. The first plants which came were flat plants with leaves like this, making shade, taking the sun and shading the soil. And they protected the soil in a way which allowed other plants to come under them. And rapidly it started growing. It's amazing. And after a while, for a few months, we had the problem that the plant reached the sprinkler. So we had to buy a brush cutter, and we started cutting the grass. And by cutting the grass, in fact, I realized that afterward, we were just doing the most important thing, which is chopping and dropping. Laterite? Yeah, laterite. When you were walking on the main path here, you could hear the sound of the rock. And in fact, it was like great. It was impressive. Here, the avocado, which is planted now, many lemon trees were on the ground. So we had really doubt. It was a bush taken by the thorny plants. The right time to germinate. And the first plants were flat plants with leaves like that. And it was clear that the soil tried to protect himself from the sun. It was amazing. Exactly.
And then the rest can come.
Finally I can. Yeah.
Yes.
And then under these plants, new kind of grass came. And after a while, the grass came to the top of the sprinkler. So we had to buy a brush cutter and start cutting. So at the beginning, it was every 2-3 months. It was fine, but what were we doing? Plants grow, they die, they fall on the ground, they keep the soil and fertility start like this. So after a while, after 6 months, maybe 1 year, we had to cut everywhere every 15 days. It was incredible. We had it. It was just roaring, I would say. You don't do it. You don't grow plants by pulling on them. They grow. You just have to stop messing nature. That's what we try to do here. And we animals, we are the horizontal movers. Plants are very good as vertical movers, but they can take back all the elements which leach to the bottom, and with the sap they raise it to the leaves, and then the leaf comes back to the soil, and you get it. You have recycled the elements, but they cannot move horizontally. But we can move horizontally. And some scientists think that the world would not look like that.
The Josh says how to plant a forest. You take a bare ground and you just put sticks and you leave it. And the birds will come and sit on the stick.
Yeah, good.
And then they shit, and then they have the seeds in it, and that's
but
how
you
forest
don't
grows.
even need the pegs. It
Well,
works.
there must be a reason why he decides he wants the sticks. I don't know.
Then the birds,
Maybe it's particular types of birds.
No, some birds, yes, I know that some birds really like to be perched and oversee the place.
and they sit up there and.
Because he's been watching it long enough.
Yeah. But I think if you want to create a forest in this climate, you just make a fence.
No. Well, no, because I'm completely understanding. I'm having fun doing it.
So look, all the little roots and things like that, it's full of life. And the smell. Can you smell? It's like
It smells like.
So you can protect the soil many ways. You can protect it by mulching. You can protect it by growing plants. So that's why it's a bit messy, because we want to. That's why I keep the grass in the path. This grew in 5-6 years only, and you can see a lot of things here. In fact, we grow plants which are not crop. For instance, this one, which is a castor. That's a castor tree. Yes. And castor for us is a good helper because it grows fast. We never sow it, in fact, because it grows so easily everywhere, and it's very easy to remove. It's a cousin of indigo, but typically, yes, look, castor. Thanks to the sun, a bit of water, we return the carbon to the soil. Well, use it. You can see that it's blue with the leaf. One, and this is one leaf. You see, it's high like me. It's 6 feet high. So, and when the leaf will decay like this one is a small one, so we will keep it. When this leaf will decay, it will mean that the root is ready. So we'll take the root, and around the main mother root, we'll find a lot of babies, and these babies are spread for multiplying the plant. They grew from seeds of avocados eaten by mother in 70. It's a true story, eh? And mother had this avocado given by somebody coming from Indonesia, if I remember well. And she found them so good that she wanted them to be planted by somebody, and she was working to the ashram with the seeds. And Gerard was there and took the seeds, and that's how it started. The avocado flowers, they open twice. They open as male, but the female is not effective at that moment. They close. Then after 12 hours, maybe they open again as female, and the male is finished. So they cannot pollinate themselves. And there is A type which open, let's say for instance, a male in the evening, female in the morning, and the B type which open male in the morning and female. So A needs B and B needs A. So if you have only one tree, difficult. You will maybe have 1 or 2 avocado, but you have to have a lot of them. If you don't, it doesn't work. That's why it succeeds here. We were lucky at the beginning because we had the right one on the 5, and then we spread them, and it's still working. But the amateur who wants, because it's easy to take a seed and to grow an avocado, but it's not easy to get a fruit. That is the point.
And you know which trees are what type?
No,
no,
we just mix them, and
we
trust our chains. It works. For the moment, it works. That's it. It is finished.
Thank you so much.
Did you enjoy it?
Nice. Yeah, so much. Beautiful.
Do you have a garden?
Yeah.
You cultivate it?
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Investigating and coming here, trying.
So, but you can come here and volunteer to learn.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
Right now I'm working in the mornings. And I guess that's when you are.
Yeah. Just tell me all experience, whatever you felt, and what do you feel about now air and the soil?
Oh, I've learned so much about especially the soil, and that's what I'm trying to study and learn about right now. So this was a really beautiful introduction to the whole cycle of of planting and growing and using life to build life. I got a lot out of that.
Okay. So you enjoyed it?
Very much.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Show the bye bye with the leaf.
Bye bye.
படிக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடில இருந்தோம் படிச்சு முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறமும் வந்து ஃபுல்லா ஃபார்மிங்ல தான் இருக்கேன். ஸோ நான் படிச்சது வந்து ஃபார்மிங் கிடையாது, ஃபுல் அண்ட் ஃபுல் ப்ராக்டிஸ் தான். I'm from the local village. I'm an Aurovillian, born and brought up here. I'm a farmer since beginning, from schooling for the past 2.5 years. And I used to work in different farms and forests in Auroville for many years.
Agric useful.
நாங்கள் இதை பற்றிலாம் ஸ்கூலில் படிக்கிறோம். வந்து நாங்கள் ப்ராக்டிக்கலாக பார்த்தா கொஞ்சம் ஈஸியாக இருக்கும். நாங்கள் க்ராப்ஸ் பற்றி அதோட டிஃபெக்ட்ஸ், இரிகேஷன் எல்லாம் படிக்கிறோம், பார்த்தா ஈஸியாக இருக்கும்.
இப்போது ஃபார்மிங் ஜெனரல் எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா அது நிறைய டைப்ஸ் இருக்குது. ஆக்சுவலாக இந்த டைப்ஸ் எல்லாம் நம்ம கிரியேட் பண்ணலாம். ப்ளஸ் அந்த மைக்ரோ ஆர்கானிசம்ஸ்லாம் அந்த ஹோல் ஆக்சுவலாக அந்த எக்காலஜி இருக்கணுன்றதுக்காக மட்டும்தான் தேவையை தவிர்த்து ஒரு தாவரம் வளரணும், ஒரு பிளான்ட். This one. So we'll soak it.
Okay, போடலாம் தம்பி. போடுங்க. Yeah, that's a good shot.
That's a good shot. There's lemon everywhere.
Hey guy, come. You will see. They are really aggressive. But it's interesting because their job is to clean the tree from other pests. And look, their nest is here, that's why. The queen must be inside. And if I disturb them, you will see how they will come and look at them. Hey, come you! I will bite you. I will kill you. No, I don't want to disturb them. They do their job, which is to clean the tree. They are carnivores and they eat other pests.